Welcome to It Happened in Grand Prairie. We're delighted to bring you history tape number 53 as we bring back memories of Grand Prairie, Texas of the past and wonderful information about the todays. This is October the 19th, 1987, and we're delighted to bring the Red Richardson family to us today. Welcome to the show, Martha and Red Richardson.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you all with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Wonderful. Now, we want first to set the stage with you two by doing a little genealogical research, and we'd like to have your genealogy on our record of our tape today. And Martha, shall we begin with you and let you tell us about your parents, their names, and your mother's maiden name, some of the good data that we'll need for our research of our history book. Would you look right out into your camera and tell us about Martha Richardson?
My great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Robin White, immigrated from Ireland, Dublin, Ireland, in George Washington's time. And then his son, William Henry White, came on down into Tennessee in the Cumberland Mountains. In 1874, he was a Presbyterian minister, also a teacher, because in those days, the preacher was the teacher.
Did double duty, didn't they?
They certainly did. And then my mother and father were in Cleburne, Texas, where I was born.
All right, now give me the name of your mother and father, your father's full name, and your mother's full name, including that maiden name. That's very important.
All right. George Clark Street was my father.
All right.
And Willie Mae Osborne was my mother.
Wonderful. And they married and lived in the Cleburne area.
Until they moved to Fort Worth.
Until they moved to Fort Worth. And you were born in Cleburne, Texas.
Right.
That's in Johnson County, isn't it?
Right.
Good. And did you have any other brothers and sisters that you would like to name drop?
I had a brother, Jack Osborne Street, a brother, Pat Street, and a sister, Ann Street, Scarnow.
Wonderful. And are any of your brothers and sisters living in the Metroplex at this
Yes,
time?
we didn't move very far away.
You didn't move very far away, and they all live within, say, 50 or 100 miles?
Just about.
Wonderful. That is just splendid. All right, now, let's get down to the genealogy of Red Richardson. And what does Red stand for? I know you have another name other than Red Richardson.
Red is a nickname that I acquired when I was in about the 7th grade.
All right.
I had a school teacher that told me that I shouldn't try to whip anybody, call me Red, that was a real good nickname, and just stick with it. And I have.
And you have all these years. Would you give us your full name, Red?
Yes, I'm Wesley Eugene Red Richardson.
Would you like to tell us about your predecessors, the heritage that you come from?
Yes.
All right.
My grandfather came to Texas in 1874.
What was his name? Do you have that handily?
I don't have it.
All right.
But he came from Virginia, and he came by ox wagon.
All right.
He was kin to Robert E. Lee.
Wonderful.
A lot of my people were named Lee. I wasn't, but anyway, we are kin to him.
All right.
I was born in Burleson, Texas in 1920. I was raised in Fort Worth, Texas. I attended school at TCU and NTAC in Arlington.
All right.
And the thing that, when I first remember anything about Grand Prairie, was back in about 1936. We got up enough money one time to drive from Fort Worth to Dallas to eat. There was a special eating place over there.
All right.
And we came down Highway 80 to Dallas. I can remember the little biplanes flying all over there. The sky was just full of them, like butterflies. That's my first recollection of Grand Prairie.
All right. Now, Red, we're going to have to go back and get your mother and father's full name. Would you give us your father's full name now?
Wesley Lee Richardson.
Wesley Lee Richardson. And he was born in
Burleson.
In Burleson. Okay,
Yeah.
now your mother's full name, including her maiden name.
Elva
Lee Doherty.
Lee Doherty. Yeah.
And did you spell that Dougherty, D-A-U-G-H-E-R-T-Y?
Yes.
Oh, how exciting. I know that some Doughertys here in Grand Prairie are going to be
Yeah.
real excited to learn that you're in the Dougherty lineage. All right, and where was your mother born?
She was born in Burleson also.
Also, yes, and as we go down into the hill country, we go from Fort Worth down through Burleson and Joshua and on to Cleburne, and Burleson's on the way to Cleburne. Is that where you found this young lady?
No, we met in Fort Worth.
Back in Fort Worth. All right. Now, we've gotten your family history except for your brothers and sisters. Did you have any brothers and sisters?
Yes,
Red?
I had one brother,
Well, give us his name.
Gerald Lee Richardson.
Gerald Lee Richardson.
He's an architect in Tulsa.
And he is still living and lives in
Yeah.
Tulsa.
Yes.
All right. Now, before we get on to the good things that have happened to the Richardsons since they came to Grand Prairie, Texas, let's get back to Martha a little bit. And Martha, tell us about your leaving Cleburne and how you found Red Richardson and all of the exciting things that usually happen to young people when they get married.
My family moved to Fort Worth.
All right.
And that's where all the children were raised and went through school.
Where did you go to school in Fort Worth, Texas?
Paschal High School.
Paschal High School.
I didn't find Red, he found me.
Oh, well, wonderful. Good.
So after we were married in 41, and he joined the Navy, joined the Seabees, and after he returned from the Seabees, he decided that Dallas would be a good place to start his architectural business.
All right.
And he moved to Dallas, and we stayed there for a while. And in 1950, we decided we wanted to get back to the rural life. So we bought 25 acres northwest of town. That was country.
Very much the country, wasn't
Very
it?
much.
All right. About
And-
approximately where was the 25 acres located? Can you give us the proximity?
Sunnyvale and Duncan Perry Road.
All right. That's the good
That
part of
corner.
town, yes.
And we, over the period of the years we were out there, we produced 2 children.
All right.
They
give us-
went to Patty Ann Richardson Shepherd
All right.
and Wesley Clark Richardson.
All right.
And they went to a 2-room school, the Watson School, out there.
Wonderful.
It was a terrific opportunity for children.
Oh, yes.
And there was a real community feeling out there. I mean, we supported the school and saw to it that the lunches were right and that sort of thing.
All right. Did y'all attend the little West Fork Presbyterian Church that's
Certainly.
in that area?
My great-grandfather was a Presbyterian minister. We had to go.
Oh, how marvelous. That is the
Yes.
oldest history
Yes.
church in Grand Prairie.
Yes, and they had these marvelous covered dish dinners and that sort of thing.
Was that when the school and the church were located approximately where I-30 is now when the turnpike was going
Yes,
in?
near the little graveyard.
Yes,
The little Watson School
on the
graveyard.
corner of 360 and wherever the flagship inn is located,
Yes,
right?
because they eradicated the part of Watson School Road that the school was on. And we were fortunate to have our children in the school as long as it was in operation. But it was only 4 grades. Then they had to go to Arlington schools because our part of Grand Prairie was in Tarrant County.
That's true. So they went to what schools in the Arlington area?
They went to Sam Houston,
Uh-huh.
Cooking, and then Sam Houston.
Then to Sam Houston.
So they were part of Arlington, but
But you lived in Grand Prairie, Texas.
yes, pretty soon our 25 acres was in the city limits of Grand Prairie, and here we had cattle roaming around in the city limits.
All right.
In Tarrant County.
In the Tarrant County
Grand Prairie
portion of
city
Grand
limits.
Prairie city limits. That's wonderful. All right, now, Martha, we're going to let you rest a minute, and we want to get back to you and your particular career, but let's follow the career of Red Richardson, and we haven't really set the stage for you all because later on we're going to get down to where you work now and the ownership of a very important key restaurant on Highway 80 here in Grand Prairie. But let's talk about your engineering and your architectural work, and tell us what you did in the Dallas area. Red, would you do that?
Well, I went in business after I got out of the service. 1945 or first part of 46.
Okay.
An architectural business. Carter Miner was my partner, and the name of the firm was Miner and Richardson.
All right.
We designed shopping centers, quite a few restaurants, cafeterias, churches, things of that type.
All right.
And I stayed in this business till 1962, when I decided I wanted to be in the restaurant business.
All right. And in 1962, you made a change all of the way from architectural to a restaurant entrepreneur, right?
Yes.
All right. Where did you go first with the restaurant business?
Well, I went down at first.
You went down at first. Tell us your first adventure, and then tell us about it.
Well, I decided when I went into business that I wanted to be a developer.
All right.
And I got some friends of mine together, and we raised a little money and bought the old Ben Newberry farm, which is Nottingham Estates.
Yes.
I was the one that started that.
Started the Nottingham Estates.
And we
Okay.
turned our 25 acres that we had out there into the Richardson Heights Estate.
All right. And after you had developed that, what happened next?
Well, I decided I was going to have to get in the restaurant business in a big way. I took my sport coat off, put on an apron, got behind the fry line, and started cooking.
Started cooking in the restaurant, and tell me your first restaurant adventure.
My first adventure was I had a cook working for me. It was supposed to be an egg man. We flip eggs in a skillet.
All right.
I stood there and watched him flip 3, and he missed all 3 of them. They landed on the floor. That was when I decided I could do a better job than he did, and I started cooking.
All right. And could you name that magnificent restaurant that you started?
Red R Coffee Shop.
The Red R Coffee Shop. And where is that wonderful place located?
It's 518 West Main.
518 West Main, and that's right on the corner of Northwest 6th and Highway 80,
Yes.
right?
The 31st of this month, we will celebrate our 24th anniversary.
24 years in Grand Prairie, Texas at the
Yes.
Red R. All right. And we know many good things that have happened at the Red R. We know you've hosted many of the civic organizations in your room that you've added to the place. Now, tell us a little bit about working in Grand Prairie, Texas in the Red R. Tell us how your decor developed. We enjoy the decor there very much, all of the good Western things that you have there. Tell us about getting that together.
Well, it just happened by accident. I used to go around to some of these trade shows, Weatherford and Canton, places like that. And
All right.
I'd pick up barbed wire and trade for barbed wire, mounted on these boards. And I had a friend who was Indian, and he helped me collect the arrowhead collection, which we have in one of our dining rooms.
All right.
Lewis Bryant, there in Grand Prairie, found those horns hanging over my cash register in Dallas, bought them from a fellow, brought them out and gave them to me.
Wonderful.
They've been there 24 years.
That's wonderful. Now, do you remember the time of Grand Prairie when you were on the borderline on Northwest 6th Street there of the old city of Dalworth and the city of Grand Prairie? You were just
Yes.
on the outside border of the
Yes.
city of Grand Prairie, and the city of Dalworth began to the west. Do you remember all of those transitions?
Yes, I remember the old filling station on the corner. There used to be an old fruit stand and a little old motel on that lot that we built the Red R on.
Used to be a little motel there on the corner
Yeah.
of Northwest 6th Street and Highway 80.
There wasn't much of it left when we got there, but there was enough to show it.
All right, we're going to come back and talk with you a little bit more
All right.
about your development and the Red R and
right.
what's been going on all this time. But let's get back to Martha. Martha, after you all married and after you raised your 2 children, what were you doing? Were you just a homemaker, or did you have an outside career?
Well, I owned a general insurance agency for a while, but
All right.
pretty soon the restaurant demanded all of my time, too. And I've kept the books. And both our children worked in the restaurant until they grew up and found other employment. And we have been active all the time in our First Presbyterian Church. And we've been very interested in watching Grand Prairie grow, because it's been a privilege to see it changed from a little town to a pretty good-sized place now.
Yes, it has.
And again, we've been privileged to be in the air or the atmosphere of a small town. You don't have the traffic, the bumper-to-bumper traffic and all that you have in larger cities, but you are just 30 minutes from Fort Worth and 30 minutes from Dallas. And this makes an excellent setup for a pleasant life. And it's always been pleasing to us to see people get together and have their prayer groups at our restaurant, and they have their club meetings at our restaurant, and their dinners and things like that. And we have the privilege of knowing our mayors, knowing our city council people, knowing our school teachers. They live in this area. And you know the people you're doing business with, and it makes life more pleasant.
Well, you certainly would be involved, because I know that the Evening Lions Club meets with
Yes.
you. That way you keep your pulse on lots of things that are going on in the city, right?
Really.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to let you rest a minute. Let's get back to Red. Red, have you been at the helm of the Red R all of these 24 years, or have you sort of leased it out along the way and maybe had other people you'd like to name drop about helping you run that Red R?
No, we've had it 24 years, and we had at least out 7 of those years.
Had at least out 7 of the years.
In those 7 years, we bought a ranch in Arkansas and
All
moved
right.
up there, raised a few cattle, and cleared a bunch of land, and just had a ball.
All right, now, going to Arkansas, which is supposed to be a very beautiful state, and having a cattle ranch and all of this, why did you move back to Grand Prairie, Texas, and it kind of gravitated back to the Garden of Eden here in Grand Prairie?
Well, the people I had it leased to weren't doing a very good job for me or for themselves or the city of Grand Prairie, the customers. And about the only choice I had was come back and take it over and try to straighten it out, and that's what we've done.
And you really have straightened it out, haven't you?
Well, we're still trying.
Still
What
trying.
we call a mom and pop operation.
A mom and pop operation, right?
Maximum effort.
Maximum effort. Yes, it is. It's wonderful. All right, Red, I'd like to talk with you about some of the businessmen that you've met and had dealings with. Anyone that's been into architectural, contracting, development, the restaurant business, ranching, and all of these other good things. You've seen a lot of people come by the pike. Tell me some of the people that motivated you into the business world as you've been.
Well, Kurt Wagner is one that I remember most. I worked with him, and he was involved in that Nottingham Estates edition with
All
us.
right.
But he was a developer, and I was on the Planning and Zoning Commission when he was mayor.
All right.
John Stuffelbeam has been a good friend of mine. I've known him a long time.
He was one of the council members or commissioners, wasn't
Yes.
he?
We were both elders down at First Presbyterian Church.
All right.
I see him quite often. We pray together and talk over old times.
All right. Who were some of the other leaders of Grand Prairie that impressed you as you were coming along the way? By the way, I believe Kurt Wagner was one of our former mayors, right?
Yes, he sure was.
Yes, he sure was. Who are the other stem winders that you've worked with?
I really
Those are the most
they
important
don't come
ones?
to me right now.
They don't come to you right now? Okay. But really, when you were a young man and you were growing up in Burleson, who had the most influence on your life to really motivate you to go on to TCU and to NTSC and then to end up as an architect? Did you have someone real special?
Well, I got a job after I got out of NTAC with an architect in Fort Worth, doing some school jobs.
All right.
From that, I went to the Austin Engineering Construction Company. We built that big aircraft plant over in Fort Worth. And
Is that the consolidated, what was then
Yes,
known as the consolidated
consolidated.
aircraft?
After that, we went to Chicago and built a big Douglas plant up there.
Wow.
And I just got interested in architecture and studied it. And when I got the opportunity, well, I went business for myself and had a partner.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. You meet a lot of people, do a lot of driving.
That's right. All right, now tell me, did you have a lot of influence on your children? What has been their way of going along as far as their careers are concerned?
Well, we just tried to raise them as Christian children. And we tried to keep them busy. At our house, we always had a Friday night dinner, whether it was home or at a picture show or went out to dinner or what, but we took the family out on Friday night.
Friday night was the family night, right?
That's right.
Good.
We enjoyed it and they enjoyed it. When we lived in the country out here in Grand Prairie, we used to invite our friends out. We'd have maybe 10 or 12 couples out there on weekend and have them all invite their kids to come with them. We had a lady who lived close to us. She'd come over and she'd ride herd on the smaller children. And we'd do what grown-ups do on weekend.
Just have a big time, right?
Have a big time.
All right. Martha, when y'all lived out in the Nottingham area, when you had your 25 acres out there, were you at that time involved in your insurance, working and keeping house at the same time?
Also, yes, I did that and did a certain amount of church work and the various things that are required. Worked with the PTA and things like that.
Oh, wonderful. Were you ever a room mother and all of this good stuff?
Certainly.
Oh, that goes with
My
the territory.
children always volunteered. Mother will bring 24 cookies.
And that was to cook in and on to the up
Right.
into Sam Houston,
All the way through.
all the way through Arlington.
Yes.
All right. What are your children doing now?
Well, our daughter's a full-time mother,
Good.
and our son is a apprentice minister.
All right. Now you said a full-time mother. I have a sense that maybe that means grandchildren, and if it doesn't, you must name drop grandchildren.
Well, I would, because I'd hate to be marked off the list.
That's right, and you would be.
Patty and Jerry Shepard produced Miss Keely Ann Shepard and Miss Dusty Lee Shepard.
Oh, how wonderful. And what are their ages?
Well, Keely is now 14, and Dusty is 11 going on 40.
I know the feeling. And where do they live and go to school?
They live between Mansfield and Burleson. They have reverted to the country. They had the same idea that we had. They wanted their children to know where a quart of milk came from and where eggs came from. And they have a horse and cattle and that sort of thing.
All right, now tell us about your young son. That sounds very exciting.
He's busy. That's
And as an apprentice,
yes.
Presbyterian
He doesn't
minister?
live here. No.
Tell us where he lives and something about
Well,
him.
he is moving around right now.
All right.
So you never know where they're going and what
Going
they're
to
going
send
do.
them to.
Yes.
They must have their religious experiences when they're an apprentice, right?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Well, is there anything else that you would like to add, Martha? I know that you've been involved helping the women's division and some of their projects. And
Well, one thing I would like people to realize is that Grand Prairie is a perfect place for a retirement area. Again, you're not fighting the traffic every time you go to church or school or the library or the post office. You're about 5 minutes from any bank in town and 5 minutes from the grocery store. You can get there and back and not risk your neck. It's really a very nice setup. All the banks are close. And again, it's almost like an extended family because we know so many people in town and we enjoy being part of the area.
well, now we know where you used to live, out in the Nottingham area. Where do you and Red live now in the proximity
Well, we
of
sleep
Grand
in Trailwood.
You sleep in Trailwood.
We live at the Red R.
I'm sure that you live at the Red R, but your home is in the Trailwood area.
Yes, it is.
And that's out south toward the lake. What do you think about the new lake, Martha?
Fantastic.
Do you think that's going to be an upcoming
If it
thing
is
for Grand
controlled, if it's controlled properly, it'll be one of the greatest assets we've ever had. It really will be. One of the greatest assets of Grand Prairie is I-20 on the south, I-30 on the north.
All right, well, what do you think about the new Polo Road connection that takes you to
Terrific.
to the lake area where you could transfer over into the
Yes.
Ocala and get to
Yes.
Great Southwest Parkway? Do you like
Yeah.
all of these improvements?
We've had the privilege of seeing all these improvements made,
Yes.
and it's wonderful. We watched I-30 being built. We watched Six Flags being built. And when you see all these, you feel like you're a part of them. It's really interesting.
All right, now, you've told us a little bit about your church, and you've told us a little bit about maybe the PTA and all this good stuff, and about your community service. I know that you all are nearing retirement age. Martha, what are you going to do when you retire?
I'm not going to.
You're going to stay in the restaurant business?
I'm not going to retire. I just don't believe in retiring.
Yes.
There's always too much to be done. And we tried to retire 3 times, and I just don't think it would work.
Well, it's a lot healthier for us when we stay active, and
I believe so.
we keep the Red R Coffee Shop going, and that way you get to fellowship with all of the people. We're especially thankful for you, Martha Richardson, you and Red both, for providing our Tuesday morning prayer breakfast, which is a spin-off of the national prayer breakfast that the President inaugurates at your place each Tuesday
Yes.
morning.
Well, you're not the only prayer breakfast we have.
I do know
have
that.
several other
Enjoy
groups.
having you.
That's good. Isn't that wonderful? Don't you
Yeah.
feel like the prayer restaurant of Grand
Yes,
Prairie, Texas?
we do.
Not really. We're just a friendly place.
That's wonderful. All right, Red, let's get back to you. We have 2 more minutes before we wind down, and would you believe we've already wasted all of our time on all of this good stuff? I'd like for you to tell me about Grand Prairie. What do you think has been the things or the events that have caused Grand Prairie to change so very much? What effect do you think North American aviation had on it, and the taking away of the interurban and really opening up Jefferson and Highway 80 and all this good stuff? Comment on that for me, would you?
Well, North American really is responsible for Grand Prairie being what it is. LTV has grown into one of the biggest companies in the country, and if they can get past their political problems, well, they're going to end up great. But we owe it all to them. And Trammell Crow is responsible for many, many hundreds of acres of land being developed in Grand Prairie, both south of Grand Prairie at I-20 and Carrier, also out north on Beltline Road.
Yes, that midpoint. Isn't that an exciting adventure?
The only thing that'd make it any prettier is to see some buildings being built out there.
You think you and I are going to live long enough to see the buildings and the restaurants and the commercial going in the midpoint area and some of these
Yes.
others?
I'm going to make it a point to live that long.
You're going to make it a point to stay here that long?
They're not going to cheat me out of that.
All right. And what would you prophesy? We have 1 minute left. What would you prophesy for the Red R? That you're going to continue to do what for Grand Prairie? Look right out into your camera, right out here with the red light.
Serve good food and improve on it, and hope that sometime in the future we can find someone who is interested in doing what we've done at the Red R and improve on it.
And that sounds like a real good point for Red and Martha Richardson, who have been very, very important to Grand Prairie, Texas. They are wonderful, wonderful community leaders and have been stem winders in the Northwest 6th Grand Prairie main part of town, which is not right downtown, but it's the downtown west part of Grand Prairie, isn't it? We appreciate you all very much. Thank you all for being on our show.
Appreciate it
And
coming.
this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do. Thank you.